Dr. Kris, we're live. How are you, brother?
I'm good. We in our neck of the woods had lots of tornadoes this weekend, and we survived them. So it's good to still have a building.
Well, good. I'm glad you're still in business because lots of people are counting on you. Today, we're going to talk about, I think we're talking about certain supplements that folks should take when you're over 40 years old.
Yeah, we
So,
thought today we might do a little bit of just discussions of maybe going back to a little bit of the basics on some of the different supplements that are useful. One time I read well, going backwards, a lot of times I talk to other providers and they're a little bit hesitant on recommending supplements to their patients. They feel it's very salesy. And they don't like that. And I said the average person actually takes over 2 to 3 supplements over 40, and they do that. They basically get their advice either from a friend or they just randomly pick things. And so I think it's really important that we actually give guidance, whether or not you purchase those things from your provider. I think it's important that we give you guidance because I just find that a lot of patients are not always spending their money as well as they can, I guess is what I would say.
yeah, every time I'm on X or I'm on something, there's always it knows, my algorithm knows I'm interested in these supplements or things that one should be taking. And there's all this contradicting information. You shouldn't take creatine. Oh, you should take creatine, especially if you're older, and all these conflicting.
I think we did this last time, didn't we?
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I love about talking with you is like we get, everybody's unique, and ultimately when they come in and work with you, you take labs and then you design a bespoke process, and so you don't have to guess, you can know. But today we're going to talk about 3 supplements everyone over 40 should be taking.
yeah, so I'm actually cheating a little bit on this one, and you'll know what I mean by in a minute. I'm actually was going to talk about more than 3 supplements, but we're going to call it 3 supplements because of how it's packaged. And so we kind of get a little more bang for the buck that way. But we're going to talk about maybe just some things that I think are super important. And the good news is a lot of this stuff we're going to talk about actually doesn't need labs to do. And so this is one of those unique scenarios where I can say the vast majority of patients, of course, the vast majority of patients need these things. And so it's just kind of easy to start off. So if you'd like, I'll go ahead and jump in. So one of the biggest players I think is vitamin D. Vitamin D3 is simply the only time I see a person on labs that truly is not deficient in vitamin D3 is someone that's already supplementing vitamin D3. And I think it's important to understand vitamin D3 and what it does. It's extremely important for our bones and joints, our musculoskeletal system. There's been a lot of talk over the years of being calcium deficient. Although most patients are not calcium deficient, they're vitamin D3 deficient. And if you don't have the vitamin D3 being a cofactor of calcium, if you don't have enough D3, calcium cannot do its job of, keeping your bone density strong. So typically it's a deficiency of vitamin D3 for musculoskeletal system, immune system. It's most of us believe that one of the major reasons that so many people had major issues with COVID early on was vitamin D3 deficiency. Your innate immune system cannot activate unless it has proper levels of vitamin D3. So again, really important. And then mood. And these are just some of the few things. Mood is very much somewhat dependent on our vitamin D3 levels. So, as I always tell patients, D3 is more of a hormone than a vitamin, but they're never going to rename it hormone vitamin. Hormone D3. We have vitamin D receptors from our scalp to our soles of our feet and everywhere in between. And so, how do we get it? We mainly get it through sun, through skin. An interesting fact in Texas is to get enough sun every day, it takes 8 hours of sun exposure, and that would be a bikini for a female or shorts, no shirt for a male. So as I always tell my patients, ain't nobody got time for that. And if you do, you better have a good dermatologist. So at our office, we like to so let's go back a little bit. The fat soluble vitamins are A, D, E, and K. Okay. Now, E is a little bit controversial. The company that we work with actually puts vitamin A with D3 with K2. So I'd like to expound upon that. So this A is kind of like D3 is A is needed for making D3 work, and K2 needs D3 for it to do the proper work that it needs to. A little fact about vitamin K2: if you have a patient taking good levels of K2, there was a long-term study that actually showed your chance of death from a cardiac event lowers around 46%. So just by taking K2. A little fact about D3: if your vitamin D3 levels between 75 and 100 and you get cancer, you right off the bat have a third less mortality rate. So you die a third less just by having a good vitamin D3. So that's, again, back to the immune system. And vitamin A is just a cofactor for these vitamins. So we put it together, those fat soluble vitamins. I'm about to go into my little, what did I call it? Fudging of the system here in a second. So really important. I always tell my patients, if you do nothing else other than take your vitamin ADK every day, which fat soluble vitamins must be taken with food. There are called fat soluble vitamins for a reason. If you don't eat them with food, they kind of go right through you. They don't absorb properly. And so, and if we could go backwards real quick, Steve, you and I've talked about this a lot. Supplements are not well regulated in the United States. It is really important. As I always say, just because something is cheap doesn't mean it's no good. Just because a vitamin is expensive doesn't mean it's any good either. And so we at our office only sell pharmaceutical grade supplements, which means they're doctor only, which means that they are independently batch tested to make sure what's on the label is actually in the capsule, which is super important, because that would kind of suck, paying for something and it not actually be what you think it is. So that's ADK, super important. If you just want to improve your musculoskeletal system, make your bones stronger, not get sick as much and feel better, ADK. So my second favorite one, and by the way, these three are actually going to end up as one, and that's where I say I'm fudging my bet here, because we're going to talk about two other supplements in addition to this, is methyl factors.
But before we go to those, what does K do?
That's the K2. That's the one that actually plays a role in our immune system, but also is super important for your vascular system. So the studies show with K2, just by being on K2, you lower your chance of cardiovascular death by 46%. So super important. A lot of patients only take D3. Now, the only time I only recommend D3 is if you're pregnant, so that would be the time that you wouldn't take an ADK. But if it's a non-pregnant female, obviously, then we would use the ADK combination for those patients.
And for those listening, I'm showing on screen the ADK5. This is the product you're talking about, correct?
Yeah, and the nice thing is it's an inexpensive product. It's $46, but there's 90 days worth there in that bottle. So, when you really price it out, that's a really affordable $22 a month, less than $1 a day supplement, which is really, really good. So
I'm curious, how does one get K in a diet or whatever?
It naturally comes in our food sources, but the problem is that there's just not enough these days. And it's like when you see D3 added to a lot of dairy products these days, the problem is the amounts that are added are so small that at the end of the day, we just don't get enough of it in our diet. So, we truly are, I would say 30 years ago, most of Americans were not vitamin deficient, but now we are. And it's because of eating out of bags, boxes, and windows more frequently. And then also just the quality of the foods that we eat are not nearly what they used to be. A study that I like to tell doctors about is a bowl of spinach in 1960 compared to today. I think you and I have talked about this before. It takes 30 bowls of spinach today to equal one bowl nutritionally of spinach in the 60s. And that's how, nutrient deficient our foods have become because of the ways that we are able to grow our foods now in 2025, at least for now. Maybe RFK is going to make some positive impact on that. So I always say, unless you're truly growing your own food, fertilizing it, taking care of it properly, even if you are buying good foods, it's still not nearly as nutritious as it used to be. And then as we get older, we don't always absorb these things as well as we used to. So when we start getting like us in the 50s and older, we stop absorbing it as well, and all of those things start to happen. So, go ahead.
I'm wondering what's the next cheat code on the next supplement?
Yeah, so B complex vitamins, super, super important. The two vitamins that I pretty much routinely see that are suboptimal in my patients is D3 and the B complex vitamins. And the one that we use is called methyl factors, and I'll explain the name in a second. But that's B2, B6, B12, folic acid, and betaine is what comes in this one. And this supplement is all about supplementing the methyl transferase system, or methylation for short. Okay. Methylation is simply a carbon and 3 hydrogen atoms being donated back and forth. And it's actually how we repair our body. It's how we repair DNA and RNA. It's how we make neurotransmitters in our body like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine. And as we, again, this diet that we're consuming, the average American diet is not chock full of B complex vitamins. We start to see methylation starting to suffer. Because of that, we routinely check a lab in our office called homocysteine. We start to see homocysteine levels rising because there's an inverse relationship between methylation and homocysteine. And that's where the name comes from. Factors to improve methylation, methyl factors. So when your homocysteine ends up elevated because of lack of B complex vitamins and dysfunctional methyl transferase system, you actually start to become higher risk for cardiovascular side effects, such as clotting and those sorts of things. So, and the nice thing about methyl factors, it's one of those vitamins that actually patients truly feel better when they take it. So many things I say, Steve, take this. And you're like, okay, why? And I'm like, well, because you need to. And you're like, okay, great. But I don't feel any different after being on it a month. I'm like, yeah, but we're preventing things. And that's cool. But the nice thing with methyl factors is generally patients will actually report back an increase in energy and actually generally feeling a little bit better, a little bit more mentally sharp. Nice thing is it's the one that makes your urine fluorescent yellow, so patients know it's doing something, which is quite nice. And then that third one that I really, really like, which is really one, is called DIM. So most of my patients are on some form of hormone replacement if they're 40 or older and they're a patient of ours. And there are a few side effects of hormone replacement. They're not major, but they can be there. And DIM is the base compound of broccoli and Brussels sprouts and bok choy. And basically, it smooths the rough edges of hormone replacement. It really it helps prevent excessive conversion of testosterone to estrogen. And so we really, really like, as it says here, it's kind of a balancer for hormones. It promotes the good 2-hydroxy pathway with estradiol usage versus the 4-hydroxy pathway. So it's just a great supplement that I like to say really, really prevents the side effects from hormone replacement. It's also combined with pomegranate extract and SGS, which just basically are cofactors for DIM. That's where the DIM SGS plus comes in, the SGS plus the pomegranate. So where I was coming with that is because the BioT, the company I work with, is very smart. They put that all into one package, and that's called the NutriPack and the NutriPack Plus. So my favorite supplement that I was working towards is called NutriPack or NutriPack Plus. NutriPack is for girls. NutriPack Plus is for guys. It's the only difference in the two is that we use 2 DIM in guys. We use 1 DIM in girls. So the NutriPack plain has 1 DIM in it. The NutriPack Plus has 2 DIMs. So it is basically 3 bottles of supplements into one little pack you take every day called NutriPack. And that includes the vitamin ADK. It includes your methyl factors, and it includes your DIM. And if it's for a guy, it's got 2 DIMs. If it's for a girl, it's got 1. And again, the plus is the male version. So that's where I said I was kind of hedging my bet on what I was going to say, because we got this 3-in-1. And the nice thing is when you put them all together, you're actually saving 22% versus buying all 3 bottles separate. So you're actually getting the vitamin ADK for free by buying the NutriPack. So most of our patients that are on hormone replacement ultimately end up taking the NutriPack.
Cool. Back in the day, Dr. Kris, I was trying to get a job as a pharmaceutical rep
Hmm.
back when I had more hair and was more young. But one of the companies that I talked to, they did a product called, it was a homocysteine product.
Hmm.
And so it was packaged to help with your cardiovascular system.
Sure. Yeah, and that's what methyl factors do. And there's lots of different versions out there. That's just the one that we like. And what's nice is I think we're not too far down the road from custom supplements, to where one of these days I say, all right, Steve, I want you to be on these 6 supplements. Because like I had a patient the other day saying, God dang, doc, I'm flying to Europe and I've got 7 bottles of stuff that you have me on, legitimately have me on. And it's a lot to travel with. And I said, well, in the next couple of years, I really believe that we're going to be able to just say, okay, here's your 7 supplements. I don't know. Maybe it comes out the size of a jawbreaker. I don't know. But hopefully it's just a little pack and you can tear it open and do that. I think there's some companies starting to do it. They're just not real. It's still pricey, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, but I think that it's going to become cost effective at some point. And which is where I'd like to throw in one of my tips before we move on is the generic multivitamin. The generic multivitamin, in my opinion, is not worth whatever you pay for it. If you're like, well, it's not expensive, it's $5, buy a cup of coffee. Okay. I mean, you can't pack in 100 vitamins into a caplet and swallow it and absorb it. I always say if your multivitamin's not in a pack or in a liquid form, if it's just take these 2 caplets first thing in the morning, like the best multivitamin seller I think still is Centrum Silver. And not trying to take any shots at Centrum. Well, I guess I am, but I'm just not a huge fan. I think that's a shotgun approach, and it's not that it's hurting you. It's not hurting you at all. I'm not saying it is. I just think that we can do better these days to customize something for you. But generically, the NutriPack Plus is a great supplement regimen. And that's all you did. You're actually way ahead of most people as far as a supplement game goes, because these are things that we legitimately need for legitimate reasons.
One time in my labs, I realized that from learning about the homocysteine, that folate, it's what helps your cardiovascular system. And so spinach is a great source of folate, right? But
Sure.
in one of my labs, I learned that my body doesn't methylate folate, meaning that I was just eating spinach, but I wasn't getting the benefit I thought I was getting.
Yeah, which is why you want to make sure when you are supplementing, and some patients can be checked for MTHFR mutations, but also just making sure you're taking methylated vitamins so that you get more of that effect. But yeah, again, those are things now genetically we can test for, and they're good things to test for because not everybody absorbs things the same way, for sure.
What does methylate actually mean?
It's the donation of the carbon and 3 hydrogen atoms. So that's methylation. So it's just a donation of those back and forth, those side chains.
So it helps it doesn't when your body maybe is not doing it. It's bringing it already pre-prepped as pre-methylated, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this pack that we have, so that NutriPack and then NutriPack Plus, you get all 3 of those in one little packet. It makes it easy to travel. Plus, it's very cost effective, and they all complement each other as well.
Right, and you're not carrying around 3 bottles, and you're saving money when you do it. So, what I found very much annoying with the old way we do it is that if you're a female, your bottle of DIM lasts longer than if you're a guy, and you have these 3 bottles, and none of them sync. In other words, one's good for 30 days, one's good for 60 days, one's good for 90 days. So you're always in this battle of like trying to make everything sync, which is why I like the pack, because it's 30 packs specifically for a girl, specifically for a guy. If you need 3 months, get 3 boxes, you're good to go. So it's just a really nice thing to do. It's really easy to do. And practically every patient needs those things, especially if they're on hormone replacement. So that's why I was going to take those 3, make it 1, since it's a pack. So I still had a couple others that we could discuss.
So, you have some more to discuss?
Yeah, I do. So I want to talk about a new product that we just actually launched along with New BioAge that we're super excited about. And as you and I have talked about before, I'm a huge fan of BPC. BPC is a peptide that's made in the gastric juices of our stomach. It can do multiple things in our body, like improve overall gut health, improve reflux disease, irritable bowel symptoms. It has some neuroprotective aspects to it. So it can very much help with neurologic disorders and helping with different types of neurologic diseases. There's gut tide. So this is the one specifically for the gut because it has KPV in it. But then also BPC is an amazing product for healing the musculoskeletal system. Like some people have nicknamed it. I don't think our new one's on the website yet. It's called Regenitides. I mean, it's new. And so like BPC has been nicknamed on podcast and biohackers, the Wolverine peptide, because, it regenerates. But another one that I'm a really big fan of is called thymosin beta 4, TB4. And before we've never had TB4 as a supplement, but now they have what's called fragmented TB4. And fragmented TB4 is now been, and TB4 is very good as a musculoskeletal healer, specific, the muscular system. And so we're calling this product of BPC fragmented TB4 Regenitides. So we now have this oral formulation of an old injectable formulation of TB4 and BPC that can be used for the ultimate repair mechanisms within the body. So we're super excited now. We have 3 formulations of BPC. We have straight BPC, which was what we were using for repair in the past because it was higher dose BPC. We have the gut tides that you brung up for a second. That's BPC with KPV. And that's an amazing product for hitting more gut health, okay? Trying to heal those leaky junctions in the gut and just be more functional with our gut. But now we have the Regenitides, which will be added to the website soon. But Regenitides is now combining that TB4 along with BPC to really hit that arthritis, ligament tears, muscular injuries, all of those injuries that seems to be so many of us are starting to suffer in our 40s and 50s, those aches and pains. The nice thing about this product is like, I always tell patients it works as good, if not better, than non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like Aleve. But those drugs have negatives. They're cheap, but they can give us GI bleeding. They can absolutely negatively affect our kidney function, amongst other things. The nice thing about this product is it's pro-kidney, so it actually helps your kidney function, and it actually heals the gut. It doesn't hurt the gut, so you're not running the risk that you have with these non-steroidals. Because typically when I use a non-steroidal in a patient, I'll tell them, hey, you can use it for a few days, but this isn't a long-term solution to what we're trying to do here. So we're super excited about having Regenitides. We still have oral BPC if that's what someone wants, although I think now I would prefer Regenitides over straight BPC. And then, of course, we're a huge fan of gut tides, which is the BPC KPV formulation.
So BPC stands for?
Body Protective Complex. It's made in the gastric juices of our stomach. And so it's just a really, as we naturally produce it, it's just something that declines with age.
Yeah, I take the BPC gut tides. I take the gut tides one. My stomach, if I don't take them, the digestion noise is loud.
Yeah.
But when I take those, it seems like it's really calm, and I don't have that noise.
And that's why, like, I had a patient the other day that injured himself, and he's on gut tides normally. And I said, well, let's move you over to Regenitides just for a month, and then we'll move you back to gut tides. You're still getting the BPC either way. And that's the main player for the gut. It's just the KPV is very symbiotic for the gut as well as BPC. So long-term, I want him on gut tides, but short-term, I wanted to move him over to Regenitides. And there's no reason to do both of those together because now we're just spending a lot of money on a bunch of BPC that we're getting in both places. So I just had him hold his gut tides for a few weeks while we're doing Regenitides, and then we'll move him back over to gut tides. So that'll be the nice thing there. So we're just super excited about having that product now. It's it's important to remember that these products were prescription only just a few years ago. When you and I started this podcast, oral BPC was a prescription, and it's just super nice now that we have these products over the counter that we're able to. Heck, a patient doesn't even have to physically see me. They can just go on the website. Soon they'll be able to go on the website and get Regenitides, but they can get BPC. They can get gut tides today if they wanted to off the website. If you want Regenitides, just give us a call and we'll make sure and get it to you while we're getting it onto the website.
So what's the other one you wanted to talk about, Dr.
Just really quickly, you and I have talked about it a lot, and that's Lucinergy. I'm a huge fan of Lucinergy. Lucinergy is 3 products. It's leucine, which is an amino acid. It is resveratrol, and it is B6. And basically, in a nutshell, what this product does is this is a great add-on to like GLP-1 therapy if you're out there on some form of a GLP-1, or it can be used totally exclusive of a GLP-1. If you're wanting to maybe maintain weight loss from a GLP-1, or maybe you just need to lose a few pounds and you want a little help getting a few pounds off, Lucinergy is an excellent combination. Basically, what Lucinergy does, it's all about the dosing of low-dose leucine with the resveratrol to B6. And to get fancy, it lowers the Km value of NAD. Basically, in English, what it does is it makes our lower levels of NAD, because as we age, guess what's lower? Everything good, including NAD. NAD is kind of our precursor for our creation of energy in our body. And NAD is what stimulates or activates what's called sirtuin genes. And so basically what Lucinergy does is it makes our lower levels of NAD work like higher levels of NAD in our body. It basically doubles up what it does to stimulate our metabolism genes, which is our sirtuin genes, so that we have better active mitochondrial function and overall metabolism, which I probably don't have to convince anybody that the better our metabolism is, then the more fat we burn, the more weight we lose, more proper weight we lose. And so Lucinergy is just a great product. The biggest thing on Lucinergy is it's very important to follow the instructions that are on the label. It's 2 a.m. first thing, and it's 90 minutes after lunch. You must time it correctly. Otherwise, it won't do what it's supposed to. So it's just important that you follow the bottle and do what it says. But great product. So my 3 products that I wanted to discuss today ultimately was the NutriPack, which was 3 different supplements, along with Regenitides, because we're just super excited about launching that product, along with Lucinergy, which is just a big staple for us at this office. And we're just huge advocates of Lucinergy and just recommend it so much for patients trying to either maintain their muscle mass, their body weight, or maybe want to augment their GLP-1 therapy. If somebody's out there and they take branded GLP-1s and they're kind of bogging down in their weight loss, Lucinergy is a great addition that you can add to that protocol.
Awesome. So these are all available over the counter. You can buy them from the shop on the researchclinic.com. And if you wanted to talk or discuss about these particular things, you can go to the researchclinic.com and schedule a time, and hopefully get with Dr. Kris to talk about other items that might be considered for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to get Regenitides up on the website quickly. If you're really just burning to have that beforehand, just give us a call. We'll get it shipped out to you. We have it in office. It's just I don't think that's been a priority. We've had a lot of stuff going on. We just need to get it on the website, but it will be there soon. Everything else is on the website, but you're always welcome just to call and talk to the ladies, and they'll get you taken care of for sure.
All right, Dr. Kris, any other item you want to cover before we wrap it up? We got a comment. Let's see what the comment is here. So Anne's asking, Dr. Kris, why not take NAD?
So Anne is an amazing physician up in Michigan, and so we're a big fan of hers, and I think she's a big fan of ours. So you certainly could. NAD is an interesting topic, and Anne, knows about that, and is bringing up a good point. So NAD is a hot topic. I think we've even done a podcast on NAD in the past, and so. NAD is one of those things that some of the natural ways to improve NAD is just actually get a good night's sleep, fast, and exercise in the morning. Now, I do 2 of 3 of those. I don't get a good night's sleep. I struggle with sleep, but just by naturally doing that, we can maximize our NAD levels. Synergy is a way. Is a great way to go about that. But then you can do subcutaneous NAD, you can IV NAD. Just don't fall for bullshit, pardon my French, NAD infusions. An NAD infusion is not a pleasant experience, and it's a long experience. Typically those infusions will take a few hours. They're uncomfortable. And we could even make a whole podcast out of debating, does an IV do anything? But I just hear a lot of people going to IV bars, getting an NAD infusion, and they're out of there in 30 minutes. And I just would debate with you if that's a real NAD infusion. I think you just probably got upsold on something that you probably didn't get a lot of benefit. So just, there's a lot of different ways to go about NAD. It's a fascinating topic. We're still kind of figuring out that system, if that makes sense. So but yeah, Anne brings up a great topic there with NAD for sure.
Yeah. It all goes back to, for me, where the light bulb went off in my conversations with you is like, you have this cell, and it would make sense that your cell functions well and it has the energy. And so what can you do to take care of the cell, or help the cell take care of itself and have that energy? And fasting. Well, why do you say work out in the morning? If you're fasting.
Yeah, it's just physiologically, it's been proven we sync better circadian rhythm wise, and that with a morning workout. And so studies have just been shown that working out in the morning truly does raise our NAD levels better than evening workout. So I always say, if you truly can pick when you're going to work out, you want to do it first thing in the morning. Second reason is just logistics. Talk to anybody who tries to work out in the evening and tell me how successful they are with it. Most of the time, I'm not saying that there are not people who can't pull it off, but more times than not, it's really easy to turn left when you're supposed to turn right after work to go to the gym, right? Because we're tired. And again, last but not least, like for cortisol levels and stress levels, it is simply working out in the morning is the best way to start your day. It is hard to have a bad day when you get a good workout in whenever you start your day. But physiologically, we actually respond better to workouts first thing in the morning. It's what's supposed to happen.
All right. Excellent episode, Dr. Kris. I'm going to run the outro. We skipped the intro today because we just got into it, but here we go. Thanks for joining the Dr. Kris Podcast. If you learned something today and you want to connect and get more information, visit our website, www.drkris.life, where you can find more great information or even schedule a time to learn how you can engage with Dr. Kris. Be sure to follow, like, share, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Dr. Kris Podcast. You get a little sun, he says.
Yeah, I certainly need some.
All right.